We are more connected than ever, yet more alone than we've ever been. And we think this feeling means something is wrong with us. But history and science tell a very different story. Because when ancient leaders felt overwhelmed, when pressure closed in, when decisions carried the weight of millions, they didn't seek more noise, they sought silence. Nearly 2,000 years ago, the Roman Empire was under constant threat. Marcus Aurelius ruled during one of the most unstable periods in Roman history. Continuous wars on the northern borders, political tension in Rome, and the Antonine Plague, which killed millions across the empire. And yet, historians note something unusual. Marcus Aurelius spent long stretches away from Rome, living in military camps, often in solitude. Not because he was escaping responsibility, but because he believed leadership required inner discipline before outer control. During these isolated periods, he wrote private reflections, never intended for the public. Those writings became meditations, not a strategy manual, not propaganda, a conversation with his own soul. Here's what most people don't realize. Meditations was written while Marcus Aurelius was actively commanding armies. Not during peace, not during retirement. He chose silence inside chaos, because he understood something modern life forgets. Clarity is not created by more input. It is created by less noise. Ancient leadership cultures, Roman, Greek, Eastern, shared one belief. Major decisions required withdrawal. Before wars, treaties, or reforms, leaders would isolate themselves. Why? Because silence strips away ego. When the noise stops, fear surfaces. Bias reveals itself. Truth becomes unavoidable. They didn't call this loneliness. They called it preparation. Modern research now confirms what the ancients lived by. Neuroscience shows that constant stimulation weakens self-awareness and decision-making. When the brain is never at rest, it stays reactive instead of reflective. In contrast, periods of quiet activate the brain's default mode network, the system responsible for self-reflection, moral reasoning, and long-term thinking. In simple words, silence helps you think like a leader again. A major modern study on social connection found something unsettling. People today interact with more individuals than any generation before, yet report the highest levels of loneliness ever recorded. Why? Because connection without presence doesn't nourish the soul. Likes don't regulate the nervous system. Notifications don't create meaning. Noise doesn't create belonging. Your mind is busy, but your soul is underfed. What Marcus Aurelius knew about the inner world. Marcus Aurelius wrote repeatedly about retreating inward. Not physically, but mentally. He believed every human being had an inner space that no chaos could touch. A place of order. A place of alignment. And that a person who could access that place would not be controlled by fear, praise, or pressure. That belief is why his leadership endured crisis after crisis. Ancient generals understood something modern productivity ignores. A confused mind loses wars before they begin. That's why the greatest strategists prioritize stillness. They believed action without alignment was more dangerous than inaction. Today, we do the opposite. We act faster, consume more, react instantly, and wonder why we feel lost. If you feel restless in silence, uneasy when alone, uncomfortable without distraction, that's not failure. That's awareness returning. Psychology confirms this too. When external stimulation drops, the mind turns inward. Unresolved thoughts surface. Ignored emotions rise. And that moment feels uncomfortable, because growth always does. The ancients expected this discomfort. They welcomed it. Ancient philosophy speaks of an inner chamber, a place where identity is shaped by the world. Most people never enter it. They stay externally busy their entire lives. But the wise, they close the door. They sit, they listen, and when they return, they are harder to manipulate, slower to anger, clearer in purpose. The modern world treats silence like danger, but the ancients treated it like intelligence. They knew something we were learning. If you never sit with yourself, you eventually lose yourself. Loneliness is not always loss. Sometimes it's a signal that the soul is ready to reconnect. Don't rush to fill it. Don't escape it. Sit, breathe, let the noise fall away. Ask questions that only silence allows. What am I avoiding? What am I outgrowing? What is trying to change? You don't need instant answers. Alignment comes first. Clarity follows. If one of the most powerful emperors in history needed silence to stay aligned, if modern science now confirms what ancient wisdom already knew, then maybe this feeling you're experiencing isn't something to fix. It's something to listen to. Loneliness is not rejection. It is preparation. The same signal that once guided kings is guiding you now. Back to yourself.